our narrow segment. Okay, this is a smaller segment. I like to call this one the money maker. We are going to shake it like Shakira. Okay, we're going to shake this segment for everything it has. These people are the most engaged with our list. These people have opened. These people are recently in the funnel. These people want what we have to offer. Okay. These are my favorite people to mail because this is where the results happen. The goal of the wide segment is to put more people in the narrow segment. Okay. Say, everybody type in moneymaker in the chat. I want to make sure everybody's engaged with this. Moneymaker in the chat if you're excited to get into this. There, you guys are more excited than I am, which is almost impossible. So I love it. That's what I'm talking about. All right. So here are some tactics on how we approach this particular segment. There's going to be some similarities here, but there's going to be some differences as well. So I'm really excited for this. So we are going to be using relevant and aggressive subject lines. There's never going to be a time where I tell you to not use an aggressive subject line. Okay. The goal of sending an email is to get somebody to open it. The goal of the email copy is to get somebody to do the next thing we want them to do. Right. So aggressive subject lines, relevant subject lines. Okay. So everybody remember when we talked about relevant at the beginning of this training? Give me a 1 in the chat if you remember us talking about relevant in the beginning of this training. There we go. All right. Everybody's paying attention. This is good stuff. So I gave you an example, right? Bob, time is running out. Okay. We are using, they know that there's a deadline because they either in the morning, maybe we talked about it. Maybe the sales page talked about it. Maybe the webinar they visited talked about it. Maybe the video on Facebook talked about it. Maybe the ad talked about it. They know that there's a deadline. Okay. Or they have seen an offer or have been in a particular promotion segment. Okay. Maybe they haven't been the most engaged with it, but they at least know that there's something going on. And now they know time is running out. You are claiming it. You are bringing it front of mind. You are now bringing in urgency and fear of missing out, FOMO. Okay. George, I'm not sure what that question is. Tracy, do you know? Do you see that one?
He's just asking if they can use the PDF in the referral partner center that we used to use for the Facebook funnel. I'll answer it in the chat. I'll get it for you.
Thank you. Cool. So, you don't always need to use urgency or FOMO in your subject line for your narrow segment. Urgency should only be used if it is real, if you can apply a real deadline to something. Okay. You don't want to just make up urgency because you're going to lose the trust of your audience. All right. So everybody give me a 2 in the chat if we're in alignment on that. We're only using urgency if we can create real urgency. Yes, perfect. That would go to the relevant part of this, right? They already know that there's going to be a deadline or they have seen an offer and now we can apply a deadline to it. They are familiar with the fact that they need to do something. Okay. What we're not going to do, okay, is we are not going to say, hey, Bob, do you want to buy my stuff? That's not going to work because they already know you have stuff, right? You've already probably offered this to them, right? In the wide segment. Okay. So the goal here is not to, hey, buy my stuff. The goal is to get them to open the email based on relevancy and aggression. Okay. Michael brings up a good point. Ethics. Yes, we remain ethical with everything that we do. There's no need to lie, cheat, or steal. I would say easily without a doubt that Kiala is very, very good about, and we are in great alignment with this, the fact that we are probably easily the most ethical company in the internet marketing space. We don't fabricate anything. We don't make anything up. The stuff you see in the messaging, the stories that Kiala shares, the emails that we write, the deadlines that we use, the urgency that we use, every single thing of that is 100% authentic and real. There's no need to make anything up. You can make hundreds of millions of dollars being true to you. All right. So don't make stuff up for just because you think it'll work better. Okay. Dana, that's why you guys are all here. I know majority of you came into Full Stack and Win Elite because of Kiala, so, and his authenticity and how he shows up. So that's why we love you guys. All right. Are you guys following me on this? Is this making sense? Give me a 1 in the chat if this is making sense. And then we'll do it. Give me a 3 in the chat if I'm your favorite trainer. I just want to just for Kiala. You see all them 3s? I don't know. We love Tim. We're not talking about Tim. Tim is obviously everyone's number 1 trainer.
I was just saying, if you see me drop off in the next few minutes,
oh man, oh, that's funny. I've been doing that since I started teaching with Kiala in 2018 at the intensive. Just had to keep the tradition going. All right. So we're going to test you guys right now. I'm going to test you guys in the chat. Okay. First one to answer this one correctly is going to get a virtual high five from me. If Tim and Kiala and Tracy want to jump in and give you virtual high fives, they can. When do we mail this segment in comparison to the wide segment? All right. You guys are taking notes. Damn. All right. So you guys get, boom, some virtual high fives. Amazing. We mail this segment second. Tongue twister. I didn't even know that. There we go. All right. Here's why. Okay. Big segment is going to get the email, get an email in the morning. Okay. Those that aren't as engaged will not get the narrow segment email. So they'll only get 1 email. The people that are engaged, want to read what you have, want to buy what you have to sell, they're going to open multiple emails in a day from you because they are interested, right? So we emailed the narrow segment second. Okay. This also helps balance out open rates. I'll explain that here in a few minutes as well, on why that works from a data standpoint. But just know putting this segment second is a very good idea. Would highly recommend you do it in that order. Okay. So, and I'm sure you guys are going to want an example of what an email like this might look like. Or not an email like this, but when we email them. So I'm just giving you arbitrary times. Okay. Which actually I put this down here because I didn't put it in the presentation, but I wanted to chat about it briefly. And Tim, actually, I might have you chime in if you have input on this as well. So I just put in times like, so at 9 a.m., you mail the wide segment. Okay. At 6 p.m., you hit the narrow segment. So I'm just going to give you segment names, right? 9 a.m., you hit your 60-day engaged list, your segment, your 60-day engaged segment. At 6 p.m., you hit your 7-day engaged segment, right? This will then allow the 9 a.m. email, the wide, right? More time for people to open, because when you click send, not everybody opens it right there in that moment, right? Some people open it a couple hours later. So if you have a segment that's not going to open right away, you want to give them the most amount of time to be able to open the email. So you just have better stats. So you have better deliverability. Yes, you can all say hello to my cat, who is not going to leave right there. She's been here for the last 3 hours. All right. So just recap: narrow segment contacts are going to receive 2 emails that day. Wide segment contacts, the ones that aren't in the narrow segment, right? So the difference between your narrow segment and your wide segment, they will only receive 1. Okay. Something to keep in mind when selecting what time to email is thinking about when your prospect is most likely to pop open their inbox. Kind of a guessing game, and you're going to have to toy around with this to figure this out. But you want to send them an email, and you preferably want to be the last person to email your contact before they open an email. So I'm going to try to explain this. If you need more clarity, let me know in the chat. Okay. If I'm going to email someone at 9 a.m. Pacific time, okay, other people may be emailing my prospect at 8:45, 9:30, right? So that's going to determine if they're the very first, if my email is very first in their inbox when they open it, or if it's buried down because I sent mine before everyone else's and it got shoved down because they sent theirs after mine, right? Does this make sense? So you need to think about this. If you're sending at 9 a.m. Pacific time, that is what, 10, 11, 12, that's noon on the East Coast, right? And it's 7 a.m. in Hawaii. So where is your audience at? If you don't know, that's okay. But these are things you need to be thinking of, right? If you have an offer and you're promoting to an audience in Europe, you need to be sending at times that in Europe, they're most likely to open their email. Okay. So so think about it. When are you opening your email? When do you check it throughout the day? When you pull up your phone, for example, are you checking your phone first thing in the morning and opening your email? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you wait until you get to work, clock in, go to the bathroom, get a bite to eat, say hi to Joe by the water cooler, sit down at your desk, and now it's 10 a.m. and you're like, well, I don't want to start work yet because like paid hourly. So why would I do that right now? Right. So then you get on your email. Now you're opening your email at 10 a.m. Right. Who is your audience? Go back to your customer avatar sheet and kind of imagine what their day looks like. Right. Think about it. Just kind of, and then you're going to have to kind of play with it and test it out until you find a solid time. Okay. Bill's got a great example. He switched his to 11 a.m. and his open rate went up significantly. As far as the specifics on the technical side of GetResponse, I'm not familiar, so I won't be able to speak to time travel or time zone. Each email sender has different things and they work differently for all of them. I can't speak specifically to that. The best advice I can give you is test. Email is the best thing to test with because you're going to get real feedback, real time, and all of the data. So you're going to know right away whether or not something's working or not working. If you're noticing that at 8 a.m. you're getting, not so great open rates, and at 7:45 your open rates skyrocket, that just means you're probably hitting the inbox and getting to them last before they open. So that way you're top of inbox. Okay. So you're going to have to test this. There's not like a black and white, do this, it's perfect, right? You're just going to have to try out a couple of different times a day. I can't pronounce your name. I apologize. Wide and narrow segments, 2 different GR lists. Tracy, do they do segments or lists in GetResponse?
It will be segments.
So it'll be
segments.
So it'll be different segments. It'll be off your lead and customer list.
And I just wanted to speak to Cole quickly. The perfect timing, you can test. Like Cole said, test it, but I would not recommend using it if you are, for example, on the last day of a launch email sequence, you're going to want to send those out at the specific times so that if it ends at midnight PST, you're not using perfect timing. You want to send those out. So again, you can test it. But I just wanted to bring that up.
That's a very good point. Go ahead.
Perfect timing is going to send an email based on a time that the recipient usually opens.
That's right.
So it's not really conducive with this strategy because you need 2 emails a day to go out. I don't know. We don't do it. We have a similar thing in Maropost and we don't use it because we're kind of trying to train the list to like, hey, every morning you're going to get an email from us. Open that email. It's great if you wanted to send just 1 email for the day because it has 24 hours for that email to go out. So like Tracy's saying, just adding this in here so you guys are aware. So like Tracy's saying, in a promotion, it is not effective at all because there's a deadline coming up and you don't know what time they're going to get the messaging from you. So because of that, we just kind of steer away from it. We don't use it ever because we want to control all of the deliveries because that helps us get the data that we need in order to continue to basically control our open rates. So just want to clear that up.
Yep. No, yeah, 100%. If you're using this strategy and you're not controlling the send time, then you don't necessarily have a great way to test, because GetResponse is just kind of determining that for you. So it's taking away a little bit of your control over this particular strategy. So it may take time to, again, build up that reputation with your list and that relationship, but we pretty much have our list trained to open at 7 a.m. and 4 p.m. That's more or less when we have them trained to look for our emails. So but if we had it on perfect send, or even if it only had an hour window to send it, we're relying too much on a source that we don't know where they're even getting that data or information from, and just kind of relying on them to do the best they can. But because of this strategy, we're really able to control all of those things, and we're able to inbox when we want to inbox. So if we need to change something or improve something, we have control over that. We don't have to guess at whether or not our sender is doing the best, doing better than what we could do ourselves. It just adds an additional variable into the mix that we just don't need to add. So that's the context around that. So, does this make sense? The time of day, like hitting top of inbox? Give me a 1 in the chat. Oh, there's a question that I'm going to miss. At least that I don't know. That's a technical GetResponse question. We'll save that probably for the tutoring, I would say.
The answer is yes, there is. It's
Okay.
time travel. But again, I personally don't like that. I like to control when
Yeah.
the emails go out.
Oh, just so many questions I want to ask. It's fine. So the best thing to do, guys, I would suggest doing it this way. I would suggest not doing time travel or any of the magical things that GetResponse can do, or your autoresponder or email sender can do. I would just send it at the day and the time, right? Doesn't matter what time zone, doesn't matter, none of that. Just have a baseline to work off of. Once you build your baseline and your reputation, if you want to start testing some of those tools, then test them, right? But build up a solid baseline with as few variables as possible. So that way your data that you get back, the information you get back, is based off of a strategy that you are applying with no variables. And then you can add a variable in and then determine whether or not it's better or worse or more effective or gets you more sales, right? Oh, dang, they got you right in the being, huh? Damn, just right in the being. I was going to say it, but I let it go. So, all right, moving along into the training itself. Length of the email is not important, but the content inside of the email is. So typically a medium to longer length email in this one is good. What I have been testing, and you guys should test this yourselves, the style of email I've been using is kind of in promotions. Sorry, let me be clear. If you're promoting to a list, I try to overcome 2 objections in an email. If you don't know what that means, then don't do that, right? But I try to hit them with some short punchy copy to start. This overcomes a quick objection that maybe they just had and I didn't answer in a previous email or on a sales page or anything like that. And then I link them to the page. And then I move right into the next objection. I start overcoming that with some type of, story or whatever it may be. The reason for that is because the few people that are ready to buy, but they just need that one push over the edge, I want to get them out of my email and onto the sales page as fast as possible with the most impactful content I can. Okay. The rest of it is for everyone else. So the majority that need a story to relate, they need to hit more emotion. They need they need to see more credibility, authority, features, benefits, right? All of the things we do in copywriting, right? So that's what I use email wise. That doesn't mean you need to do that. It's just something that I've kind of started to develop that's been working well for us. However, if you just have, your normal copy with a link or two in it, that's fine too. You don't have to use that particular tactic. So if you don't know what overcoming specific objections are and what that means, then don't do that. It's just moving the needle a little bit for us, but a little bit on a big list is a lot. So when you have a smaller list, just do what you can to sell the offer, to sell the click, to sell them into the landing page or the sales page or the VSL or the webinar or whatever it is that you are doing, right? Just do the best that you can to get them there, right? For Tim and I, they pretty much get a sales page handed to them with these offers, right? So that sale, I'm certain that a copywriter was paid 10, 20, 30, $50,000 to write that sales page.
Yep.
They probably know what they're doing. Let that page do the work, right? Open the page up, right? That's where you're going to get your ideas for your copy from. Don't reinvent the wheel. That's what I do. I take the sales pages and the content that we have and I pull that. I'm like, all right, how can I pull that and make that into a small email? How can I kind of talk about that a little bit? Oh, there's a really great quote or a sentence on this sales page. I'm going to bring that in and I'm going to use that here. So that way they see it in the email, they click, they also see it on the sales page. Now there's congruency that builds authority and credibility, and that helps sales, right? So the length isn't necessarily important. It could be short, medium, long, doesn't matter. It just needs to be enough content to get them to the sales page ready to buy. That's what matters here. Okay. So yeah, you guys can all say hi to my cat, Eleanor, as well. Again, she's here for the long run. She's my assistant. She makes sure the training goes smoothly, uninterrupted, even though she doesn't know what that means. All right. So here's some more context as well. If you need more information, Eleanor like Roosevelt. No, Eleanor like the car from Gone in 60 Seconds, which is a Nicolas Cage movie. If you're not a car person, that probably sounds really stupid, but it's a good movie and I love that car. All right, back on track, guys. Don't let me get you guys off track on your training. I'm really good at that. Back on track here. So context on what should go into the particular email and how to go about that. You are going to turn up the heat if you are in a promotion cycle. You're going to apply pressure. This is where you start turning up the sales heat. You want these people to buy, okay? They're opening emails and showing interest, okay? The reason that they probably have not yet bought is because we have probably not hit on their particular perspective on why they should buy based on their beliefs, okay? They are not in our brains. We are not thinking the same thing. The words we use, the reasons we as people buy are going to be a little different, right? I'm not going to buy for the same reasons a single mother is going to buy. I have no kids, right? I've never been married. I've never been divorced. I've never been in a serious enough relationship to be able to buy for the exact same reasons as that person, right? So I need to move my messaging in a way that is going to relate more with my audience. I need to hit their beliefs. They don't know all of the things I know. If I'm going to sell copywriting stuff, I'm not going to sit here and talk to you about the psychological principles and studies that have been done by universities on why people should buy in my sales messaging. Everyone's gonna be like, you need a master's degree to write copy? No, you don't, right? I don't have a degree, right? However, what I can say is, hey, if you say really good words and you say it in a right way, then you probably make a lot of money. People will be like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. I get that. If you say the right words in the right way, then people will pay a lot of money to do the things, right? That's the difference, right? So you just have not yet shared with them a reason why they should buy that they believe in, that fits their beliefs, their perspective of the world. You just have not yet shared that. And I believe, Cal, you actually, a video just went out, I think today or yesterday, where you briefly talked about that, the 4 money, can't remember, 4 money making skills or something like 4 high paying skills. You just briefly touched on in the video. I was watching it this morning, so I thought that was really interesting that this and that fit together. So If you guys want a little bit more context, he didn't go super in depth with it, but he talks a little bit about there. Okay. So just because we know or we believe what we are saying is true, and we know or believe that our product or service that we are promoting will help them, right? That does not mean our prospect yet believes that thing. Okay. That's our job, right? If we were only selling products and services that everybody just saw the picture of and they're like, I got to have it, this would be so much easier, right? You would just be like throwing this stuff out and people would be throwing $100 bills out of the sky, right? That's not the case. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing this, right? We must meet our prospects where they currently are, not where we want them to be. Okay. If you take away anything from this in your copy, meet your prospects where they are, not where we want them or think they should be. Okay. Give me a 1 in the chat if that makes sense. If that gives you like crystal clear clarity on exactly what amount of information, what you should be talking about. There we go. All right. We're all on the same page. All right. Perfect. All right. So are we good on moving on from this? Did you guys give me a 2 if you got all your notes and you're good and you don't have any questions? Give me a 9 if you have a question about the narrow segment. Not getting any 9s. I think I'm doing a good job explaining this, which is good. Cool. That's why they pay me the big bucks. Narrow segment. All right. So our narrow segments could be, these are suggestions, even though it doesn't say suggestions on this page. These are suggestions, right? We have our 30-day openers. They've opened in the last 30 days. Okay. This is a big narrow segment. All right. It is still considered narrow, but it's big. Okay. 14-day openers. They've opened in the last 2 weeks. Right. Our 10-day openers. This is pretty much the narrow segment that we use at Full Stack on a regular basis. This is kind of how we base our engagement off of, is this particular segment that we have. That does not mean you need to do that as well. I'm just sharing that information with you. A majority of you will probably choose the 7-day openers because they have opened in the last 7 days, in the last week, right? You may briefly remember something that you did a week ago, but a week and a half ago, you may not, or 2 weeks ago, you may not, right? 30 days ago, pretty not likely, okay? So 7 days, most likely the one you will choose. That will kind of be up to you. There's obviously risk levels assessed to these as well, right? So obviously your wider segment in the narrow segment, the 30-day, that's going to be more risky to use as your narrow segment than a 7-day, okay? It's, again, still risky. It's no guarantees here, but it's way less risky to mail your 7-day openers than it is your 30-day openers. It's definitely less risky than mailing your 100-day openers. This makes sense? Give me a 2 in the chat if this makes sense. There we go. Look at this. These guys are fired up to be like, yes, I get it. Love it. So one thing I now I'm thinking about and I wanted to put in here is which segments to mail together. You want to, if you're going to hit a riskier segment in your wide segment, then you're going to want the lowest risk possible in your narrow segment. Okay. In fact, you should, on the narrow segment side, unless you are a pro or an expert and you start to see how the data correlates and you can analyze and interpret these things and start to move your messaging around and start adding deeper segments and stuff like that. Until you are there, then you should probably choose your most narrow, your smallest segment. That's going to be your safest bet. All right. Give me a 3 in the chat if that makes sense. And that's all right. You're just going to stay there and do that. No need to go risky and jeopardize all of the hard work you guys have done. We're here to build a good reputation with our email list. All right. How do we get these exactly? I assume Get Responsible will allow this to be a dynamic segment. Tracy,
We
No.
don't have dynamic segmenting, so no, you are
We do
segmenting
have-
every day.
Get Response does have dynamic segmenting, but not based on days. It's based on date.
Interesting. Okay.
Mhm.
So yes, so you will have to update this. So you will, I don't know how to build the segment. There's probably a couple ways to do it. The way that's coming up for me is downloading your openers. You can do this every couple days, probably every other day. And then upload that as a segment or replace
They
the
can just do
segment.
a safe search. They can just do a safe search.
Perfect.
They just
I'll leave the
search
technical
who's opened in
stuff.
the last 10 days. Save that group, mail it.
Perfect. There you go. The technical stuff I'll leave to these guys. How long does it take to build a good reputation?
He's still working on it.
Yeah.
Fucking guy.
Yeah. I don't know. It's never ending, just so you know. You're not going to get to a point where you have a good reputation and then it stops. If that's the answer you're looking for. It's not an end date. This is a game you play forever.